Well, you know, the Buddha said the body doesn't get cancer, the body is a cancer.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
Buddha said that.
because there's always something wrong. I mean, on the best of days, something, you know. And even if it's anything, you got to eat, and you got to digest and excrete, and you got to drink and urinate, and you got to sleep. I mean, you've got to do all those things in order to stay alive, you know. So you're actually in a constant demand that the body makes. And I mean, then it has headaches and toothaches and backaches and knee aches, and it's got everything, you know. And the length of one's life, the Buddha said, is dependent upon one's karma resultants. So, and very often the ones one has made in this life, not necessarily anything from a past life, you know. So, if one has practiced diligently and well enough, I don't know, well, you said my recent scare with cancer. I had no scare, none whatsoever. I've known since 1983 that I have cancer. And what it has done for me was the spur to get going with the practice and get it over with and finish. And in those years, in those 10 years, well, 9 years actually, because I started getting quite unpleasant feelings in the 9th year. But in the 10 years, because 10 years later I had the operation.
What kind of cancer was it?
Breast cancer. I set up a nunnery in Sri Lanka. I set up a meditation center in Germany. I wrote about, I can't remember now, 10 books, half German, half English. And I'm not quite sure how many, but, you know, something like that. And I did everything because I thought I didn't have much time. So that was one thing. I wasn't bothered by it until 9 years later, and then it became very unpleasant. And then there was nothing else to be done except have the operation. I mean, it was just not possible to continue on. We thought, well, maybe one gets by without it, you know, but I didn't.
Did you have a mastectomy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So none of that was difficult. You were just
No.
practice to.
Well, I mean, you see, our hospitals in Germany are excellent, first class, and cost us nothing. So I was in hospital for 5 weeks, and I enjoyed every moment of it. I had a delightful teacher, delightful doctors and nurses, and there was also like a teaching situation going on where there was some young doctors being taught, and all of it was extremely nice, and I was even able to give them some Dhamma talks.
I bet you were. I bet you did. That's wonderful. Took advantage of that time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's excellent. How was that received? Were they familiar with the Dharma?
No, not at all, but they were very interested. Yeah. They said they'd come to Buddha-Haus. They haven't shown up yet, but, you know. One of the doctors was actually born in San Diego and then left to study in Germany. And last trip to San Diego, he brought back, I don't know, about 100 of sort of spy novels and murder mysteries, and I'm quite a fan of that. So he shared them with me, and so we had a nice time about that. Now, I enjoyed every moment of it being there. I mean, I found it relaxing, and I was able to meditate in bed. And after the 5 weeks in hospital, I was 4 weeks in the sanitarium, which is also free, and it's only for cancer patients. And that was in a very beautiful area in the foothills of the Alps, and it was very beautiful. So I had a very nice time. I remember, I mean, okay, the first 2 weeks I was very weak. I couldn't, sit up properly, and I couldn't walk properly and everything. But, I mean, I soon got over that. A person that is younger than myself would probably feel less inclined to let go, seeing that they still have many hopes and expectations and many plans. But, well, I was 60 when I found out that I had it, and I was 70 when I had the operation. Not quite 70, but that year I was 70. Last year I was 70. And it was my understanding that I had done everything that needed to be done. And I had made peace with everyone and everything that was there, and I was ready to go if necessary. And there were 2 days in the hospital when I had that feeling that the energy was leaving through the feet, actually, and I was, well, how should I say, there was a collapse of the whole system, and the doctors got all excited and started, running around. But I was ready to go. I mean, I had done everything I needed to do. But then I did get a lot of phone calls and little cards and things, from students and friends, and saying, it doesn't matter whether you teach, just stick around. And I thought, okay, well, if I don't have to teach, it's all right, I'll stick around. Well, actually, the Buddha advised to have the 5 daily recollections, and one of them is, I'm of the nature to die. I have not got beyond death. Well, people should take that seriously. They should work with that, because we are of the nature to die, and it can happen any time. After I got well again, I mean, I became really quite energetic again, and have been teaching ever since last July. And I will take it much easier and do much less. But, I mean, death should not be anything that scares one. It's just the same as life. It's part of it. And losing one's energy, life energy, is actually a very pleasant state, because there's less self-assertion. I mean, you haven't got the energy to assert yourself. So things are more acceptable. Everything's acceptable. It's fine the way it is. I think, yes, there's nothing to prove. I mean, we actually have nothing to prove. Everything is the way it is anyway.